I think the biggest thing that the Israelis are faced with right now is the fact that they're basically engaged in 8 different SWAT-style operations. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that there are no more hostages that are being held on Israeli soil by the Hamas terrorists. And so this is something that will take a long time in some cases, potentially, for them to go through the process of either eliminating the attackers or making sure that they can be captured. So that's going to be job one for them. The next thing that they'll end up doing is, like I think was mentioned earlier, shoring up the border area. The IDF has said that they would be doing that. And then you're seeing some of this already, but there'll be more airstrikes, I think more artillery strikes against Gaza. And the other thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go after Hamas's leadership. That is just from a purely military standpoint. That last one could potentially be stopped by diplomatic actions, but that's basically how they're going to have to do it. In essence, clean up what's going on in Israel itself, on Israeli soil, and then move forward into Gaza itself. And then, of course, they have to worry about the hostages that the Hamas forces have taken with them into Gaza. So this is going to be a very complex series of events that's going to unfold over the next, I'd say, 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, that's my next question, because as the IDF turns its focus on taking control of Gaza, and you heard those warnings from the Prime Minister and from IDF officials to the residents or to the civilians there in Gaza to leave those residential areas immediately, not sure where exactly they could go in this very densely populated area of 140 square miles of 2 million people living there. But also you mentioned the fact that many of these hostages, Israeli hostages, presumably some of them IDF soldiers, were taken into Gaza, and you have, of course, Hamas leaders there saying, warning against any kinds of attacks in Gaza. How will the IDF avoid unintended casualties when it comes to hostages and civilians, people living in Gaza?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. And now I don't really have a good feeling about this, because I think civilian casualties are unavoidable, unfortunately. This is one of those areas, as you mentioned, it's probably the most densely populated place on Earth in terms of population density. And it is really an area where you can't go anywhere. So even though the Israelis have given warnings to people, the area is basically blocked off. Some people call it an open-air prison. And that is kind of what we have. We have a big refugee camp, big Palestinian refugee camp in Gaza. And that is a place where nobody can leave, basically. And that is a difficult situation. People can't go anywhere, and the IDF is going to be forced to deal with people who are, in essence, cornered. And of course, cornered people are very dangerous. They fight back, and that's what the IDF is going to encounter. It's going to be a very tough thing if diplomacy doesn't prevail at this point.